Okay, welcome everyone to part one of our 2020 Google Summer of Code final showcases. This year we had our largest class of interns to date with 20 interns total, with 17 interns working underneath the Mifos initiative and 3 through the Apache Software Foundation. So we've spread out our showcases evenly across the days and welcome everybody to attend each day's showcase. So we've been really pleased with the class of interns we've had this year, and you'll soon be getting to see the product of their hard work throughout the course of the next 2 weeks, as well as the upcoming official blog posts we'll be sharing with the community in the near future. Looking forward to this really being just the beginning of the journey for our interns, as we hope to have them become the maintainers of the project's future mentors, as well as long-term contributors across the various projects that they've worked on. And so I'm going to briefly go through the schedule for each of the 4 showcases, and then we'll move into our showcases for today. So on today's agenda, we're going to have both Karan and Muskan walk through the extensive changes they've done in moving towards completion of the rewrite of our web app onto the latest version of Angular. They've done great work thus far, and we're getting very close to being able to finally release the new web app, which has been worked on over the past several GSOCs. Today, we're also going to have Abhijit focus on the web project he worked on. He has worked on building out a new digital bank UI on top of Fineract CN. And then today, Chinmay is going to demo all the changes he made in building out an SDK for Android field operations applications. And then last but not least, Devansh is going to walk through all the changes he's made to the latest version of our mobile wallet app. And then for our showcase coming up on Thursday of this week, we're going to have Yash demo the computer vision PPI application that he's built on and the machine learning model that he's been training to detect images in generating the PPI survey just from taking a photo. And then Garvit is going to go through the extensive work he's done on the latest iteration of our mobile banking app on top of Fineract CN. Shivangi is going to do the same on Mifos Mobile, our mobile banking app on top of Fineract 1.x. And then Manthan will be going through the extensive code refactoring, as well as the Swagger API documentation that he was able to bring to completion during Summer of Code. And then Nasir is going to take us through the work he's done in completing the migration of our ORM from OpenJPA to Eclipse Link. And then finally, Ankur is going to demonstrate the new mobile app that he's built out as a reference fintech app to demonstrate open banking and APIs. And then when we move into our showcases for next week, on the web front, Manish is going to showcase the latest version of our online banking app. Shashank is going to walk through the many changes he's implemented on top of the latest version of our Android field operations app on top of Fineract. And then Ashwin will give us a demonstration of the work he's done in converting our customer-facing apps to Kotlin to leverage the multi-platform framework development there. And then Subham is going to demonstrate the work he's done in building out a GSMA mobile money API connector on top of Payment Hub EE. And then last on next 2 days session, Mehul is going to go through the progress he's made around our machine learning credit scorecard project. And then our final day of showcases will be on Thursday, September 17th. And we're going to start off with Ashutosh demonstrating the configuration wizard he's built on the new web app, as well as the screens he's implemented for the operations UI for the payment hub. And then Ahmed is going to go through the extensive work he's done on Fineract CN Mobile, the field operations app on top of Fineract CN. And then Percy will walk us through the code quality and testing improvements he's done on top of Fineract. And then our final showcase for this year will be led by Rahul, and he's going to go through the work he's done in implementing the credit bureau integration module, integrating with the DitsaWorks credit information exchange they've built for Myanmar. So with all that being said, thank you for joining us today for our first round of showcases. We're really pleased with all of the accomplishments of our interns to date. So make sure that once you've watched the showcases, you give them kudos on the mailing list and make sure they feel welcomed and an active part of our community, as we're eager to have them long into the future contributing to both Mifos and Fineract. So let me switch back to the agenda slide for today. And so Karan and Muskan, if you all are both prepared, I was going to have you all do your demonstrations first. And I think you were probably going to go first, Karan, if that's okay. I think you should already be panelist and you can begin sharing your screen when ready. And for all of our attendees, if you have any questions, please just either type them in the chat or you can paste them in the Q&A and we'll get to them either throughout the course of the showcase or at the end of today's meetings.
Hello.
Yeah, we can hear you, Karan.
Hello. Second.
And while Karan's just getting his screen shared, I believe to the mailing list, we sent the link to the final reports of our students. I'll be sending that to the mailing list later on. And then, like I said, we'll have post our blog coming up in the near future to further recognize and document the efforts of our interns.
Hello everyone. I'm Muskan and I think that Karan is facing some network issues. So should I start first?
Okay, did you want to begin sharing your screen first, Muskan, then?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Is my screen visible?
Yeah, it's visible now.
Yeah. Giving a previous context only, like a month ago, we have also showcased as a midterm showcase, and in that we have showed up all the works done in the first two phases of the GSOC period. So today I will start with the work done in the third phase in the of the GSOC period, and starting with that, I actually started with the implementing the keyboard shortcuts, and like here on clicking on the keyboard shortcuts key we can display the list of the shortcuts that have been enabled now. There are some of the changes from the previous version in the shortcut based on the browser shortcuts and all. We have decided some of them and implemented here. So like if I try some of them like Control Alt C for create client or Control Alt G for create group. Now I'm pressing Control Alt C. As you can see, the create client has been opened, and from this similar page, if I press on Control Alt G, it will navigate me to the create groups page. And similarly, all the shortcut keys can be checked and tested. Then moving on to the product section, which I implemented as a second part of the GSOC phase 3. There were some of the parts remaining in the product section, such as the recurring deposit products, create recurring deposit product, which I have used a skeleton as implemented by my mentors Abhay during his GSOC period, and in the similar way, the entire recurring deposit, create recurring deposit product has been created. And similarly, some of the products, some of the modules in the product section has been left, like other were managed text configuration. The text which was not implemented, I implemented that, and some are in the same way. Like these are some of the small components in the product section that has been implemented. All the remaining parts have been completed for the products module. Then moving on to the permissions part, as uh, Karan has implemented the directive for the permissions as a pre-GSOC work. We implemented it further, and the permissions has been completely implemented in the entire application now. And after that, I also worked on implementing the individual collection suite, in which based on the details filled over here, the individual collection sheet for the particular office and staff can be seen here. And after that, we can like switch to adding any of the payments, any of the payment details. And after giving all the details for the payments required, we can submit it over here. After submitting it, again shows up the parameters, and it has been designed in such a way like from the list of the collection sheet, again we can move to the parameters piece as well. Then moving on to the checker inbox and taxes task, there are some of the 5 components in the checker inbox and task component, like checker inbox, client approval. For the uh, components having no list or no data, I have given a simple alert option, and the rest are in the same way with all the functionalities. Like we can approve the loans or any of the work we can do over here. It's taking a bit time to load on the details from the API. And as I have approved 2 of the loans, now it's no more in the list. Uh, that's all the work done by me during the GSOC period in the phase 3 of the GSOC period. And further, I and Karan were together able to complete 90 to 95% of the work in the of the web app rewrite, and there are some of the remaining works based on which the issues has been opened in the particular repository. That's all from my side. I think if Karan is up and his network is working, he can take on up with this.
So Karan said his PC hanged, so he'll be back in some time.
Okay, thanks, Muskan, for walking us through work that you've done. So we're gonna move into the showcase from Abhijit next, I believe, as we're waiting for Karan to get back on his network connection. But just continue speaking to what Muskan showcased. We're getting very close to having the web app rewrite nearly complete. So we welcome contributors in the community in helping with the remaining tickets, but primarily and also helping to do QA and testing so we can get this as part of a future release and now have the primary web app for staff be built on the latest version of Angular with all the benefits that come with that. But once again, thank you to Muskan as well as her mentors, both Abe and Jivdio, who have been dedicating a ton of time to this project, both as interns as well as mentors now. Well, I think, Abhijit, let's give Karan one more moment. I think he's back online now. And if his audio is working, we'll try to have him present. Oh, Karan, are you able to share your screen and present now? Well, I think we might pass it on to you now, Abhijit, because I think Karan's still reconnecting his audio. So we'll let you share your screen. So while Abhijit is getting his screen shared, Abhijit, worked under the mentorship of Giorgio primarily this summer, and we tasked him with building out a new reference user interface on top of Fineract CN that better demonstrated the capabilities of Fineract CN and was more in line with some of the digital banking use cases we're starting to see be of great interest to our ecosystem and community. So That's what Abhijit is going to be showing you today.
Awesome. Thank you Ed, for the intro. So I'll share my screen. Okay. So this is the landing page. So I'll come back to dashboard, but this is how dashboard looks, and there are some options. I'll come back to dashboard in the end, and first I'll go through the other parts of it. So there's this user. You can go to settings. You can change password, and there's logout option. Then comes the admin section where we have all the things that an admin works on, like creating a products and roles and permissions and users and all. So go to roles and permissions. We have some roles created here. You can create a new role. And you can use like permission. You can just select individual permissions, save the role. You can see the details of admin role. It's in preview, so you can also search here. It's pretty useful. Also, delete functionality. So this is all about roles. In users, we have these users as like this is the user which I have created and I have logged into, and you can log in using these users, and you can like create change their password and all from here. So this is the user contains a role which is assigned to them. You can go from here directly to the role details page and check out their permissions. Back to users, you can create a new user where you give username password, and then like you can log in from that user, and you can select a role from there. Going to offices, we have, as we go into office, we directly land on the main headquarter page, and there are certain branch offices which are under this headquarter, and you can just like search for any office, and then you get all the branches or the main offices with this name. And let's say we go to headquarter and go to any branch. If you want to create a branch office under this office, you can uh, click on this plus icon. You can edit the office, and these things are in office. It's basically like nested inside. So here you can create another branch and all, and you can just delete an office. But if there are branches, then you cannot directly delete an office. So you have to delete the branches first. So it's like that. This is all in offices. In products, we have just deposit products right now. In future, we'll have loans and other sorts of things, shares and all. So this table is like searchable. Search on these things. You can create a new product from here, which sort of, I'll just go through create new product. And, just as you type, you get the options of accounts which are there. With that includes that number or something. You cannot actually go forward if there is an error in the form. So the product is created, and we go to product details page. For example, this product has a fee under it, and all the details are here. And you can enable a product, you can disable it, and you can delete a product from here or edit the product. Edit product will open the same form which was there in your product with the details filled in. So that's it in products. And the main section are like customer section is actually the most important, because we are focusing on customers and not on like, other groups and all. So in customers you have this table, the same search is there, which you can search for any customer throughout the database, and there's just so I'll just go through show the details of one customer, which is like the main one. Okay, yes, this one. So here I have made deposit accounts and all. So, but before going to details, we'll come back. So here, from here, you can create a new customer from the outside view. So this is big form, so I'll not like go through all this, but you can like sort of fill in the details and create a customer from here. You can assign the customer an office, like fill in customer address options. So you can like search for functions and all these things. Going back to the main customer table, we can manage tasks from here, which shows all the tasks, and you can like add new tasks, and these tasks will be executed when the customer is created or things like that. So like automatically assign this task, and so you can create a task from here, and you can like edit and all those things, the same things. Edit a task and search through this table for tasks. Also, there are custom fields in Fineract gives, but like I do not have exactly full idea of what they do, but I still implement it. So it's like the same thing. You can like forms and delete and all those things. You can edit update a custom field, create a new custom field, and like, see the list of custom field, see the details of custom fields, all those things. Now we go to customer details, which you can like this here you see the details of customer. You can see the activities, like customer is being activated or customer account is being closed. All those activities will be there in form of a list, scrollable list. So this box will be of this size only, and the list will keep getting added. Items will keep getting added below this. You can go to task, and you can like activate a customer or other actions which are there. You can add this or like close a customer and all. And this is the customer details card, where you can upload a photo. Upload it, and you can like remove it, like I just showed earlier. You can remove it and all. And this is like the deposit accounts which are there in customer, but there can be other sort of accounts when we have in Fineract, like uh, like other loan accounts and sales accounts and all. This will also come below. Now customer has some different options, like uploading identification cards. This is like the same flow. You can delete an identification card, you can upload it, and you can like upload a scan for that identification card. From here you will upload and you will choose a file. And you can edit the identification card and yeah, from like main the workflow is like from the main page you can go to the bottom button and you can create anything which is there in the table. So from the main page where you will create the identification card from okay, something like that. So that was, I think that was all. Uh, so identification cards and then task is the same as this, and yeah, you can create a deposit account from here. Like deposit accounts and anything related to accounting has a lot more scope, and which is like one of the most important part of the app which we don't have yet. And also like in let's say we don't have a lot of capabilities right now, but so like from what we have, we have a deposit account created here. Um, Actually, a lot more can be done in accounting section. You can edit the customer from here. So that same form will open, which was in create customer. Now we go to dashboard. Dashboard is like a staff user should be able to access like everything which is important or things which are the main data points. So from the dashboard, so that was sort of the idea. Uh, so in it, we have like customer trends, which shows like number of new accounts, new customers, new accounts opens, and loan disbursed. The thing is like currently we all this data is a mock data. So like if I refresh it, this data will be something different because we do not have this data in Fineract CN yet. But moving forward, we will see if we want like this data. So if we went like this, like we will at least have the dashboard, and then we'll see we'll add tickets to Fineract CN to add those features. And a lot more also can be done with dashboard as Fineract CN evolves and as this product itself evolves, as we get some new ideas. But at this point, like you can see these are all the like the sum of withdrawal and deposits accounts which are there, but these are like random values. You should be able to select an office, and for that office the data will change according to that office. You can like see this monthly and yearly data for this office. So that's sort of the idea, and accounting trends will be there. How many accounts are opened and all those things. So when you select an office, and when you select a office, you get the list of customers which are under that office. So you select a sample customer, and you get the screen for that customer. So here we do not have all the details of customer, but like the basic details, and you can go to customer details page for more details. Here we have the idea is to have uh, the main accounting data in terms of charts and like bars and charts, so that it's easier to view. Uh, the main accounting data again will be in the customer details section under the savings account, but in dashboard we'll have these charts for tracking and all those things. So we have these are all the accounts which are under this customer, and we have like deposit and withdrawal, but these are again these are just random values, so not the actual values. So when we click a customer, these two options come which have like all the accounts which are under customer. This is an actual value. So the account in accounts, when you click to account, we do not actually have credit accounts, so I just select put all the deposit accounts here also. But when you select an account, you get the accounts activity, which like sort of gives like uh, what you have deposited or been withdrawn or these things, and you can like select the time period from here. So yeah, that's sort of it. I'll just stop sharing my screen.
Thank you, Abhijit. It's really impressive to see how much you've been able to get done. As I know, the initial phase of your project, we got off to a slow start as you were waiting for requirements and clarity on the architectural decisions to make. So it's really good to see this UI starting to come together, as there'll be a nice reference UI as more and more use cases get added to Fineract CN. And so we're eager to share this with the rest of the community and those who are adopting Fineract CN to begin contributing to this. So thanks again for all your hard work, as well as the mentorship of Giorgio in guiding you along the way, and Bharat, who helped in a number of the requirements and mock-ups for some of the screens you demonstrated. So I think Karan is back on now. So Karan, if you want to share your screen, we'll let you give the second part of the showcase for the web app rewrite.
Yeah, sure. Is the screen visible?
Yeah, we can see your screen.
Okay, so my focus for this rewrite was on institution and admin section. After that, I moved on to some other typical tasks. And firstly, I'll start off with institution section, which is clients. And so first I completed create client, and there are multiple steps here. You can add address, family members and everything. And then the bulk import client over here, we have this custom Angular material file upload component makeup, and multiple import options over here. So after that, we want to a particular client, and a bit of a change in header over here. We have signature and image actions coming in. We also have all the loan, savings, share and recurring deposit modules developed, so we can start creating applications. We can also perform actions on a client now. All these actions have been developed, so I'll briefly go through a few of them because there are a lot of them to view. A part of clients view had been covered in 2019 GSOC, the multiple tabs functionality and everything. But this GSOC, we focus on completing the minute functionality of the client's view page, like savings module, shares module and everything. So here we have signature actions and everything. And then let's start with shares module over here. This is shares view page. We can edit a share account using material stepper. And let's go back. Breadcrumbs have been changed from community app. We can now navigate back to the client using breadcrumbs itself. And we have multiple actions for a share account, like approve. There are many other smaller screens analogous to this. And new share accounts here. You can create a share account here, and add charge over here. So after this, we have um, smaller dialogue based actions and client screen reports. Okay, data is not here over here right now. And after this, I'll move on to savings module over here. We have savings view page, multiple actions similar to previous modules over here: add charge, transfer funds, post interest, deposit and withdraw based actions. We have tabs and multiple functionality for each of the charges and transactions. After this we have uh, I'm actually running this on development build, so I can't get data over here on staging server for fixed and recurring deposit accounts. But these modules are similar to savings and shares, only there's no difference in them. We have similar create and pages, edit pages over here. So after this I moved on to groups module. We have groups view page, multiple actions for each of the group, transfer ends. All the buttons are now functional as in community app. So institution section is like almost 100% done as per community app, so we can start using it. And we have like uh, similar to clients module, we can create savings account for a group. We have multiple tabs over here, data tables coming in, and edit group and multiple actions. After this, so Muskan had covered centers module and everything. So this was it. And bulk imports had been added this GSOC. After this reports module, I had elaborated in midterm showcase, but all the functionality for reports is similar. You can run the report, get the data, export CSV, and there are multiple charting and other imports. So after this, move on to templates module. We have integrated CK editor 5. This is CK editor 5, and this can be used to create and edit a template in templates module. Um, we have this client parameters you can add. If you change the entity, you can add other parameters over here on the cursor end. So this is templates module. There are only 3 components in templates module. After this we have organization, multiple components. Bulk imports, all the bulk imports have been completed. You can navigate through each one of them now. After this we have SMS campaigns. Create an SMS campaign, can trigger type business rule. You need to complete some validation for preview step to show up, and can add some message over here using parameters. It will show up in there and you can create it then. Apart from that, we have here we have multiple actions, activation and close. Can edit an SMS campaign. Currently in community app, only message could be edited in the campaign. I think so. These fields should be editable, but they were not there in editable in community app. So we can improve upon this maybe if business logic is allows it to be improved. And after this we have fund mapping, and this is just a search form for loan accounts. And we have uh, view office. These are data tables. You can add data and in a table it will show up. We have after this currency configurations, add and edit a currency over here. and manage funds similar to currency configurations. After this, there was a few small components to be covered in telecashier management. This is functional now, telecashier management, and loan provisioning criterias. We can create it, edit the information on every table. So far in organization module, I guess all components are completed. There is a, a mat tree to be added in create holiday instead of multi-select, which is work in progress. So most of the functionality is completed in organization module. And then we have dashboard over here, and you can have this is connected to APIs, and we can visualize this data using chart.js for each office. These are recent and frequent activities you can for ease of access throughout the app. We can also use these icons as well to access frequent activities. And then we have notifications. Currently, the routing to a particular notification is not developed, but we can view the notifications right here in here and also on site. Apart from this, there is master search that has been developed, and we can navigate using master search now. And we have a few we have centralized the date format and language settings, but currently translations are not enabled, so default language will always be English. We can change the date format throughout the app, but we have to replace the hard-coded instances. I have opened a good first issue for this. Anybody can do this. This is not so hard feature. And translations, after this I upgraded the app to Angular 9, and translations have now been enabled in the app. Translation can now be enabled in the app, but we will have to go through all the template files and add appropriate I18N parameters. So that will be, I guess, the scope of next GSOC project on the web app, enabling translations and testing suite. And after that, I guess that would be it. We had one more small page. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Karan, for all the hard work from both you and Muskan, and once again, thank you to Abe and Jivjit for their work last summer on this and their mentorship this year. So next up, we want to allow the rest of the community to begin doing QA and extensive testing on it and working on the translations, as Karan mentioned, so we can get this released in the next couple of months and have it be the default UI on top of Fineract. So I'm going to pass the reins on to Chinmay now. So Chinmay, I'll let you begin sharing your screen. And so Chinmay, based on identifying that a number of our mobile applications utilizing common functionalities, trying to build out an SDK so our mobile apps could consume and leverage a common code base and reduce duplicable work across different projects. So I'll let Chinmay speak to his work and
Hello.
the great work he's done.
Am I audible?
Yeah, we can hear you, Chinmay.
Can you all see my screen?
Yeah, it's visible for me.
Okay, thank you all. So today I'll be talking about the project that I worked on during GSOC. It is Mifos Android SDK. This is my first showcase. So first I'll quickly give you a brief idea about what the project is. Then I will talk a bit about Mifos Android architecture, which I worked during my phase 1 of the GSOC. And then I worked on Swagger CodeGen client generator during the phase 2. It was an improvement over the Mifos Android architecture. And during phase 3, I worked on Swagger CodeGen integration in Apache Fineract. This was again an improvement over the drawbacks of Swagger CodeGen client generator. And then towards the end, I released the library and it is available for public use. So I'll talk a bit about that. And finally, I'll end the session speaking a bit about the future scope of the project, which can be implemented for the next GSOC period. So currently, if we look at the Android applications of Mifos, we can see that there are a lot of repeated code in all the 3 Android applications, which consume the Fineract 1.x platform. So this was a potential optimization that we saw that we could do something about it, and everything can be streamlined. So this code that is repeated mainly deals with the APIs of Fineract. So ideally, it should have been if I write a code for one application that consumes APIs, that code should directly be used in other Android applications since the APIs don't change. So, but currently we are writing the code again, so there is a redundancy. So we thought that let's move all such code into a library, and then this library would be imported in all the Android applications. So this would be very beneficial from testing point of view. So if the API call is failing, and if the tests catch it, and let's say someone fixes, then that fix will be applied to all the Android applications that are using this library. So my project is completely developer facing, so there is not much of a user interface involved. And this is a first project that is started this year. So a quick brief about Mifos Android architecture. So I worked on designing and implementing the whole project. So it is basically an Android library for Apache Fineract platform. And what it does is it just performs API calls to the Fineract platform and returns the result to the user. User in this case is a developer. So all the developer has to do is just get an instance of this library, tell whichever API the developer wants to use, and pass the required parameters and get the result. The user does not have to write the API call implementation in his app. And I also implemented a small UI part for this. It demonstrates how to use the library. So I'll give you a quick demo of this thing. So this is basically the project which I worked on. So let's see the app in action. So this is the demonstration of the APIs which are written. So I've created a sample app, and let's say that I want to test the authentication API. So I click on test API and I get the response. So it is quite simple, you may think. So you can see here, I get the username and all the fields that are returned by Apache Fineract platform. Similarly, if I test center API, I'll get all the response. Now, what's interesting to note here is, so this is the source code of the app, and this is the part where I actually write the app. So all I have to do is just get an instance of Mifos SDK, and then let's say that I want to log in. Then I just call the get auth API function from the SDK. I call the login function from that, and I pass the username and password. And in return, I get a flowable object. Now, the reason why we did that is flowable can be converted to observable and live data. So from an Android developer's perspective, it is a good feature to have both of the things at once. Otherwise, it becomes very difficult to convert one thing from other. So yeah, then this returns an observer and user can handle. Now you see here in this Android application, nowhere is the API implemented. So that is the virtue of this library. So everything is implemented in the core module. So we plan to work on this and deploy this. So you can see all the, so this is the entry point of the library. All the initialization takes place, and these are this is the authentication API. This is the center API. So like this, all the APIs were to be implemented. Now it's clearly, there are clear big drawbacks of this thing. So a complete rewrite of all the APIs is required. As you saw there earlier, we have to actually write all the APIs again, and put them in the library. So a lot of rework is required there. And for users to use this library efficiently, documentation of each API from Android's perspective is also required. So that becomes a double overhead. And ultimately, it's very time consuming to develop this thing. And it is the main drawback of this is it is Android specific. Now, we started off as Android library, but then later, if someone wants to build a library for, let's say, Angular or Node, then again they have to rewrite the whole thing. So those were the drawbacks. Then to improve on these drawbacks, I started implementing the Swagger CodeGen. So what Swagger CodeGen does is it generates a library from what we call an Open API spec file. So this Open API spec file is basically the details of the complete details of the Fineract backend. So details as in what are the API, what are the function names, what are the endpoints, what parameters do I need to pass, what kind of response I'm getting. So all these definitions are written in the Open API spec file. And Swagger CodeGen uses this Open API spec file and directly generates a library for us. So it's a big improvement over the previous Mifos Android architecture that I was working. And a good thing about Swagger CodeGen is it supports variety of languages. So all the languages you can see here, Swagger CodeGen can generate a library from in C++ or in Go or Java, Node.js, Angular, anything. So basically my second phase project was Fineract Client SDK generator. So what I had to do was take Swagger CodeGen and write a shell script that would generate a complete SDK according to user's requirement, and it would publish that SDK for future use. So it supports all the languages supported by Swagger CodeGen. And a big improvement over the previous thing is it generates the documentation of each API for us. Now there are more than 500 to 600 APIs are there in Apache Fineract. So Swagger CodeGen will automatically generate the documentation of each API. So it saves a lot of time for us. And then finally, using Fineract Client SDK generator, users can publish the library and create a GitHub release as well. So we have configured that too. So I'll give you a quick demo of this as well. So this is the project repository. So let's say that if I, as a user, I want to develop a library for Android. So I come to this repository and I clone it, and all the instructions are given here. So I've done that before. So this is the client library cloned repository. To generate the SDK, all I have to do is just run this command. So I'll run this command. So now it's actually generating the whole SDK for us. So in the meantime, let's take a look at what the script is doing. So in this script, we run this command, the main command that generates the SDK. And as I mentioned earlier, it requires a Open API spec file. Now in this case, the Open API spec file is this JSON file that I have put it over here. So you can see that this the host instance is demo.mifos.io and the base path. So this is the complete documentation of whole complete Fineract backend. So it's a very big file. It's around 52,000 lines together. So Swagger CodeGen will use this this JSON file to generate a client SDK for us. One more thing you can see here that it is using 1.0.0 version, which is quite old version. And I also have the latest version, which is 1.3.0. So currently the Android applications are using 1.0.0 version. So that's why I generated the library for this. And we also have a config.json file. So we need to customize some properties of the generated SDK, right? We need to mention a group ID or what the artifact ID should be or what the description should be. So all these things can be mentioned in config.json. Let's take a look at if this is complete. Yeah, so it has completed. So what I'll do is I'll navigate to the out folder. So the SDK is generated. So this is basically the complete SDK that users can use to interact with the Fineract platform. Now, if I list down here, so these are the files that are generated. Now, in order to build the SDK, all I have to do is just run this command. So I think I'll have to type the whole thing. Yeah. So if I run this command, then it is completely building the SDK, and it will generate a jar file which we can release, and people can use it. So yeah, I will wait. In the meantime, let's take a look at some of the files that are generated for us. Now, each and every file that you see here is completely automatically generated by Swagger CodeGen. Now, it is kind of a magic what it does. So it has mentioned the application name. It has put all the instructions over here. Anyone can use it. And it has also created the documentation for us. So let's say if I take a look at Authentication API. So let's look at it in a good view. Yeah, so this is a complete API that is automatically generated by Swagger CodeGen. So all the instructions are given here. If anyone wants to use this API, this is the sample code that it needs to use. It has told us what parameters does this API require, and yeah, so all the documentation is generated. So we'll wait for this to get over. Yeah, as you can see, it's building the jar file for us. Yeah, the build is successful. So what has happened is, if we look at the target folder, so it has generated a jar file for us. Now, in order to distribute the jar file, we need to release it somewhere. Now, typically, this release procedure takes a lot of time. First, we have to create a Jira ticket in Apache or in Sonatype, and then it takes 2-3 days to for that ticket to get resolved, and it is a very time-consuming process. Now, what we have done here is so to release this library, I just have to add a git a tag. So let me just add a git tag over here. I'll name this version as, and I just have to push this to the remote repository. Yeah, so the tag is pushed, and yeah, that's it. I mean, that's all we have to do to release the SDK. Now, what's happening in the background is, as soon as a tag is pushed, Circle CI build is triggered, and you can see here, it will first build the SDK, and then it will publish a GitHub release. So let's see what's happening over here. So once this is complete, yeah, it's generating the SDK right now. We'll wait for a few seconds. Since this is a developer facing, we frequently have to wait for these things to build. Yeah, so in the meantime, I'll show you the Swagger config file. So in Circle CI configuration, if you see, these are the workflows that are present. So the build is what it's currently doing. So it is executing all the steps to just build the SDK. And as soon as a tag is pushed, then the publish GitHub release job is called. So it will do the necessary things, and it will publish create a GitHub release for us. So let's see what is, yeah, so the build is complete. And let's check what is happening next. Okay, so the publish GitHub release is also triggered. And yeah, this doesn't take much time. So final step. Yeah, so this is done. Now, if you see here in the release section, we see that release is created, and if I go in the release, I can see that the jar is available. So any user can just go head to this section and pick this jar and start import it in his or her project and start using. So this is this was a part which I worked on during the second GSOC session. So now there are some drawbacks of this as well. So currently this project creates a static jar file and that needs to be imported in other projects. So it is not the correct way of doing things, because let's say that if I generate a new jar file, then I cannot add it as a dependency, or there is no build.gradle file, or there is no pom.xml file, which I can just change the number and it will import the latest SDK. So that was one drawback of this. And you can see here that we had to download the JSON Open API spec files. So for version 1.0, we have to download the separate JSON spec file, and even for version 1.3, we have to download the separate. So it's basically using hard-coded spec file and then use this project to generate an SDK. So it is not the correct way of doing things. And then let's say that if I have to customize the generated library, then you'll have to do it manually. There is no way that you can just auto-generate some customization that we need. And it also uses a fixed version of Apache Fineract. So as I mentioned earlier, if I update, if 10 or 15 commits are entered in Apache Fineract and some APIs are modified, then those changes wouldn't necessarily be reflected in this SDK. So addressing these drawbacks, finally, during the third stage of Google Summer of Code, I started working on integrating integrating Swagger CodeGen in Apache Fineract itself. Now, what this does is it gives us ability to generate the SDK in the backend project itself. So this SDK will always be in sync with the latest version of Fineract. Let's say that tomorrow, if I modify the authentication API and I say that, hey, previously you were sending me parameters, now I don't want parameters, I want a request body. Then if this is a big change, this will break the previous APIs. But if with Swagger CodeGen integrated in Apache Fineract, once this API is changed, all we have to do is just run one command and the SDK gets updated all in itself. So it's a big improvement over the drawbacks of previous project. And yeah, as I mentioned, it is in sync with Fineract version. It also supports Gradle and Maven. So if for Android perspective, Gradle is used. So Android users can use this library, and even Maven users can also use this library without changing anything. So how this works is the Swagger CodeGen tool requires three things. First thing is the generate open Swagger Gradle plugin. So it generates the Open API spec file for us. This has already been integrated prior to when I started working on this project. The second thing is the configuration file. As I mentioned earlier, we need the configuration file to set some properties of the generated code. And finally, we use the mustache templates to customize the generated code. As I mentioned earlier, if some customizations were required, then we had to manually go through all the 10,000 generated files and do those changes. But mustache templates help us to address that also. And then finally, once Swagger CodeGen has these three things, it generates a client library for us. So I'll give you a quick demo of this as well. So this is the Apache Fineract project, the backend itself. And if I head over to the docs, developer, Swagger, and client.md. So I can find the instructions on how to use this feature to generate the SDK. So all I have to do is just run these two commands. So Gradle resolve takes a lot of time. This command generates the Open API spec file, which I mentioned earlier, and this command generates the SDK. So let me show you how it's done. Yeah. So I'll just use the generate Swagger code command because Gradle resolve will take a lot of time. So in the meantime, I'll explain all the files that are present here. So this is the main file that Swagger CodeGen requires. So this is just the code that has been cloned from Apache Fineract backend. And this is the file, the Open API spec file, which contains the definitions of all the APIs that are present. So Swagger CodeGen plugin will use this file to generate the SDK. Now, as I mentioned earlier, we need the configuration file to set the properties. So we have these configuration files that it's quite similar to that I showed earlier. So with just minor changes. And then finally, to customize the generated SDK, we use the mustache templates. Now it looks quite gibberish, and the mustache syntax is very bad, I should say, but it does the magic of customizing the complete thing. So let's say if this has completed. Okay, yeah. So I think I had already generated the SDK. That's why it compiled so fast. Otherwise, it takes a minute or so. So let's see what it has generated for us. So this is the code that it generated for us. So I'll open this code in IntelliJ IDEA and let's see what it has done. Okay, so you can see here that it created everything automatically for us. So this is the README file that it created. Everything is auto-generated. We just added customizations and it did everything else. So if I show you the code for this, and let's say I open this. Yeah, so you can compare these lines. So this is the heading. This part is hard-coded, but this part, the API description, the Swagger CodeGen flooded the API description. So this is the magic of mustache templates. All we have to do is just mention this parameter, and while after it's generated, it will generate all the things that are there. And similarly, everything else is auto-generated here. Now let's take a look at some examples, some documentation that it generated for us. So if you see this, from a user's perspective, if I want to use the authentication API, so all I have to do is head over to the project docs and authentication API. So again, as I mentioned earlier, all these things are auto-generated and customized as required. So earlier, Swagger CodeGen was not able to generate this documentation. It was generating, rather, I'll say it was generating incorrect documentation. So if a user tomorrow comes and uses this documentation to test the API, then it wouldn't have worked. So this was addressed by using the mustache templates. So if you see here, API doc. So again, this is completely gibberish and very difficult to understand in the beginning, but this is the mustache template for documentation, which has been fixed, and it makes sure that the generated documentation is correct. So similarly, there are a lot of things here that are auto-generated. So let's see whatever the drawbacks for this. Yeah, so finally, what we did was this generated library, we released it for use because it was quite matured, and I tested it and I tried to use it in Android applications and saw that it can be at least released for the first version. And so currently this library is specifically released for Android. It has some Android related currently, and even they can be used in Java project as well. It also supports Gradle and Maven. And so what the idea is, Android Field Officer app, self-service app, and mobile wallet app. So these apps can use the generated library to abstract all the redundant code of that deals with API calls. So give a brief idea of what's here. So this is a repository of Mifos itself, and the library is released. It's currently in its version 1.0.1, and so if to use this library in Android, we have to use these steps, add the dependency, and once the dependency is added, and let's say that I want to use the authentication API. I'm using this example because it's quite simple. So all the user has to do is just get an instance of Fineract API client, call the getAuth API method, and call the authentication API and pass the parameters, and that's it. And then you get the complete response with callbacks and very clean code. No need to write the API implementation yourself. And yeah, so yeah, that's it from this side. And talking about the future scope, there are a lot of things that can be done. So first thing is testing coverage for the generated SDK. Currently, the SDK that is generated, it is not at all covered with tests. So all the test files that are generated are currently blank. So to solve this issue, I mean, this is a very big issue to address. Release. So currently, we Apache Fineract 1.4 is planned. It is not currently released. So once that is released, then ideally this SDK should also be released along with that, because it would be in sync with 1.4.0 version, and then Android applications can use it. Improving the documentation of the generated SDKs. So the 1,000 files that are created, so we could have some quick website or something to use that to show the documentation in that. And one big potential work that can be done is migrating all the 3 apps that I mentioned earlier to this SDK, so that we could have a very clean code and a lot of redundant code would be reduced. And then adding more Android specific features. This was the whole thing. The Mifos Android SDK was planned to be specifically for Android, but later we expanded and we did it for everything else. So, but in all, if we have released it for Android, then it would be better to have some things like shared preferences to handle the currently logged in user and all those things. So with this, I end my showcase. Thank you all for listening.
Thank you, Chinmay, for all that extensive work and such a thorough demo and walkthrough of everything you've done. And thank you to Hishan for guiding on the mobile side and for the additional work that Michael Vorberger did and helping to guide Chinmay on the Fineract side. So we're looking forward to implementing some of that future scope and invite others in the community in helping to extend this SDK and also getting other SDKs built to help enable developers across different apps on the project. And we look forward to working with our current set of interns to have their mobile apps begin to consume Chinmay's SDK. So great work, Chinmay, and thank you again for your showcase today. And so Devansh, we'll pass it on to you. And I know we're getting close to the, thank you, Chinmay. We're getting close to the end of our session, but hopefully everybody can stay on. But we'll let Devansh give his demonstration of the work he's been doing on the mobile wallet application. So whenever you're ready to share your screen, Devansh, please go right ahead.
Yeah, sure. Am I audible?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Also, one second. Is my screen visible?
Yeah, we can see it.
Okay, so also like I just want to confirm, is my PPT visible presentation?
Uh-huh, I see your title screen.
Yeah, sure. So hi everyone, I am Devansh Agarwal, and during GSOC 2020, I worked upon updating the mobile wallet application from version 3.0 to version 4.0. And in doing this, I worked upon various aspects, and in some of them I was successful, and some of them I will still say are pending, and I would like to continue them after the GSOC. So first of all, I started with adding the complete support for standing instructions, and I did this during the coding phase one. Then secondly, I moved to the Fineract CN integration, and I would say like this was one of the most challenging part of my GSOC. I will later explain why and how I did this. Then I moved to the payment hub integration, and then I worked upon extra work. Like this was initially not included in my proposal, but I had free time, so I like worked upon the multi-theme supporting mobile wallet application. Then in the coding phase three, I worked upon the Hover SDK integration, and finally, like to achieve our final goal of providing cross-platform support, I worked upon the Kotlin conversion of mobile wallet framework. So I will first start with the Hover SDK. Like it's it's quite out of order, but I believe like using Hover SDK requires a lot of permission. So I already gave allowed those permission, and I guess this will be better to start with. So first of all, for using the Hover SDK, a user has to create an action, and like as we can see, is my browser screen and phone screen visible?
Yeah, we see
Oh,
both.
okay.
Punch. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, thank you. So like as I mentioned, so first of all we had to create an action. So this is my account and I have created this action. So also for any future contributors, I would request them to like get in touch with me. So if they want to further work upon this. So this is the action that I created, and I have the variables that I created were phone number, the amount, and the security pin, and the operators that are allowed were like these are mostly all the Indian operators that I could find. So Airtel, BSNL, and all. So like I will show a live demo using my phone. So actually my phone provider is not supported. So like this, like I'll just show. So let's say I'm making a transaction of here and okay, so submit. Then a user gets two options, like the normal account transaction that will be done using the Fineract APIs, and the secondly the using the Hover SDK, the mobile money. So like if I select this, then okay, so like I will just get a normal transaction to the using the Fineract API, but here I'm will be demoing using the over SDK. So like when I click on here, like as I mentioned, my own device is my own service provider is not supported. So I one second. So I just tried to demo it with another phone. And like I do not have it at the moment, but I attached a GIF for that one. So like here is the user. So I will just it will just restart. So like we enter the mobile number, then we click on the mobile money, then it shows the details and then enter the pin, and as we enter the pin the transaction will complete it. So like as I mentioned, so like how I use the Hover SDK to automate the USSD sessions for mobile money for payment using the mobile money. So one second. Then next I will move to the standing instructions part. This was the first work that I did as a GSOC student in June, sorry. So what I had to do was last year Shivansh already did an initial work upon the standing instructions part, but it had a lot of scope for improvements and adding functionality. So I worked upon to add functionality, and these include create functionality, fetch, update, and delete. So I will just move to the live demo. So since my PRs are not much, so I have I have like all the applications here. And so okay. So like as we had the general payments tab, so inside I have added a functionality for standing instructions. So this one is the standing instruction that I created a few days back, and like the it shows all the ID, all the details of the standing instructions, and here the user can like choose to update those details and select a date and all. So like actually the work from the application side is completed, but there are a few like problems with the backend API. So like that's why the update functionality is not working. So like here, this is how a user can create a new standing instruction. So, one second. So the create and update are not working, but I created one a few days back. So like I can't guarantee why it's not working and all, but I'm getting a 500 response. So like I'm getting in touch with the community for fixing these issues. So like this one is the that I created earlier and deleted in the last showcase. So like this one is deleted and all. So this is the work for the standing instructions part, and so yeah, let's move to the next work. Then this is the Fineract integration. So for this, I had to basically work upon uh, consuming both Fineract and 1.x and Fineract CN based APIs simultaneously, as Fineract CN APIs are not mature enough to support all the use cases of the mobile wallet application. So, so the features that are solely in my implementation that are solely dependent on the Finraxian based APIs are like one can now create Finraxian users, customers, and I've also implemented the functionality so that these are automatically linked with the Finrac 1.x users. So this linking is basically done by linking the customer ID from Finraxian customer to the external ID of a user in Finrac 1.x base user. Then secondly, we can use the Finraxian APIs to fetch the account information like the balances and normal details. Then can fetch all the transaction history, the transaction details, and finally the user detail. So this is not the exhaustive set of all the functionality that one could have achieved using Finraxian, but at the moment, seeing this is the most work I was able to do. So one second. So for the demo, I will be using the user that is displayed here. One second. So okay, so I've already linked the Finrac 1.x base user to a Finraxian user, and like since the Finraxian API do not provide self-service code users, so for limiting the access to self-service details, I'm using Finrac 1.x, and then so I've already linked the account on my Finrac 1.x to the Finraxian. So okay, so this first of all like. So these are the details that we have of the customer. Like these all details are fetched using the Finraxian APIs. We have the account, email ID, and then this is the external ID that number 1245. This is fetched using the Finrac 1.x. Then we have the mobile number. So okay, so one second. So this is the actual account that I have linked. So this is the balance, the transaction history, and like these all functionality like in this one making transactions and all these are all since we do not have any APIs for making transactions using Finraxian alone. So like these are using the normal 1.x APIs for the transaction and for requesting transactions, and then we have the entire detail of it, entire history of a customer. So yeah, this is a pretty large history. So okay, so actually So this like Fineract, this the major work was like in laying the initial foundation for further development and wait for the Fineract APIs to mature so that we can work upon integrating more functionalities based on Fineract. So then I moved to the next. I worked upon the payment hub integration. So initially, what the problem we had was we cannot make transactions between users based upon different Fintract instances. So this is the problem like payment hub initially aimed to solve, and last year also like Shivans did the original work upon the initial work upon initial work of integrating payment hub, but over the year we had a significant development in the payment integration backend side, and I had to work upon changing all the APIs and all the interface and all. So now we can link use self-service user to the Finrack, the payment. We can basically link the self-service user to the external using their self-service external IDs to their identifiers, which can be anything from their MSSDN number to their email ID and anything else. So okay, let's move to the live demo. Since the payment hub integration work, like I worked upon the last year's development also, so this is like not an updated application. So one second. So for today's demo purpose, I have created two clients. So one is the ABC wallet, and the second is the payment hub tester. So I will log in using the ABC wallet, which whose credentials are wallet tester. So like I the last transaction I did was in the July 24th, the first showcase that we had, and this is the transaction. I don't know how, but I'm still interacting with the community. There's some development in the backend APIs from that time, and that's why when I tried to use the APIs today, these are not working. Like it show one second, I will just show. So like I have a QR code here that I will be using. So like user can either enter the virtual payment address manually or like and the amount, or either she can use the QR code. For this demo, I believe the QR code functionality will be better. So I have a QR code here, and so okay, so I have a so this is the I created this QR code earlier. So like this will be making a transaction to this user, the payment of this user. So like the transaction is successful, but as I tested today, like it won't show. I don't know why. It's like I have already sent a message on the community, and they will like I was expecting a reply soon from them so that I can further update the application. So this is the work I did for the payment hub integration. So then next I moved to the multi-theme support. So mobile wallet originally had a white light theme that we all are used to. So I worked upon adding the three theming options. The first is the dark theme, the second is the standard light theme, and third is the system default that uses the fetching the that fetches the default theme on the Android device and use it in the application. So let's move again to that demo. So my device is Android 10 and I'm using the default dark theme on my phone. So by default I hope expected to use the dark theme only. Okay, so dark theme. So this like I'll just have show you the entire walkthrough. Maybe. So this is the complete registration process. So like I will just log into my user that I already that already exists. So this is the part of the Mifos passcode library, and as you can see, like the library further can be like there's a work required on the passcode library to change this also to the dark mode. So this is the application in the dark mode. So I'll just have a complete walk through the application. So it was taking a lot of time. So this is the QR code and then we have the transaction with the history and the history details. This is the specific transaction screen. And then finally we have the receipt section. Then I move to the finance front. So here we have setting up the UPI pin for card. Then these are the options. So this is the screen for linking in the bank account. This is for the selecting the device, the SIM on the device. And there's the card fare option. With these things available. So this is the merchant section, and these are the merchant transactions. And finally, this is the profile section. Change password, change the details. Then this is the frequently asked question section, and the second settings. This is where we can actually change the application theme. So like now I'm on the normal white theme, and earlier I was using the dark theme. So this is all for the multi-theme support part. The next phase that I worked upon was the Kotlin conversion. So this is a pretty big process. So like I did or tried to complete the most of the important things that I believe were first meant to be converted to Kotlin. So I worked upon converting all the entity files inside the core modules to Kotlin. Then I also worked upon converting all the API service files to Kotlin and the domain models files. So then like these were all the like the application phase changes that I did. Then further, I worked upon like creating a mapping for all the open banking APIs. So like we had few delays in this process, but but we have completed the publishing of all the necessary APIs and the mappings and all. Then also like I have created a Fineract CN mapping, like since all the APIs are still not available, so like not available and all. So like, but still there's a exhaustive list of all the API that the mobile wallet is using, so that we can further work upon the moving to Fineract CN. Then the last thing uh, I want to continue after the GSOC is for work upon the open banking support, and we already had few meetings on this thing. Then work upon the Kotlin conversion and the general maintenance of the project. And after seeing Chinmay's report, I also believe like I should have added the work of integrating his SDK. Like it was a very amazing thing. Then this is all from my side. Thank you everyone, and that's it from my side. Hello. Hello.
Thank you, Devansh, for all the hard work that you put in throughout the course of the summer and making these great, both functional as well as technical enhancements to the wallet. The wallet represents a, key part of the stack, especially as we're aiming to demonstrate wallet use cases on top of Fineract CN. So we look forward to hearing use cases from the community, how they like to utilize the mobile wallet going forward in the future. And we aim to get a stable release of the wallet out very soon once we get Devansh's pull request merged. But thank you to everyone who showcased their efforts today. And we're looking forward to the next three showcases to share with you the final work of our students throughout the course of the past summer. So if you already registered for today's session, and hopefully you registered for the next one coming up on this Thursday. If not, you can use the same link to register, but we've got a busy agenda for the next week ahead. So thanks again to Muskan, Abhijit, Karan, Devansh, and Chinmay for all their efforts throughout the summer and for demoing their work today. We look forward to continuing the journey with you. Take care, everyone. Have a good afternoon, evening, wherever you may be. Bye.
Thank you.